Next up, 1 p.m. Eastern, Washington Commanders 3-3, 2-1 on the road at the New York Giants, 1-5, 0-2 at home at MetLife in East Rutherford, 58 Fahrenheit, mostly cloudy, 15-mile-per-hour winds. Let's get into the line history here and then the total. From a line history perspective, we are sitting here with the Commanders -2. That -2 is at plus 103. So the Giants at +2 have taken 12 cents. From a -104 opening to a -116. So maybe it's a real 1.5, but it's at 2 right now at penny. From a total scenario, we're sitting at a 40. That's where it opened. So there's been 5 cents of movement to the under, while all the other books have moved to 39.5. Pinnacle has not done that. Let's get over to the cash flow here for this Commanders spot. 54% of the tickets and 78% of the cash is on the New York Giants. From a total perspective, you have 95% of the tickets on the under, and we don't have any cash information yet. Washington comes in off an impressive 24-16 road win at Atlanta. Another situation where they were badly outgained, but they won. Not for Washington, but for teams this past week. There's a few of them that were badly outgained and won pretty comfortably. They were outgained 402-193. It came away with the win. Sam Howell, 14-23 for 151 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. The offensive line continues to not protect him. I mean, he was sacked 5 more times. He's now being sacked 34 times this season. Terry McLaurin, 6 catches for 81 yards. Brian Robertson had 10 carries for 31, caught 2 for 25. They were just 2 of 10 on third down. And they were 2 for 3 in the red zone. They continue their impressive stats there. 7th in the league, converting 61.9% of their opportunities. The defense bent but didn't break. 3 sacks, 6 quarterback hits, and they got interceptions from Fuller, Davis, and St. Juste. And they had given up at least 33 in 4 straight games prior to shutting down the Falcons. And DG or Skydragon in the chat, he'd been talking a lot about how he still believes in this Washington defense, and he was rewarded for those beliefs. The Giants come in off a 14-9 loss at the Bills in their first game of the year without Daniel Jones. Tyrod Taylor was the replacement. They've elevated Tommy DeVito from the practice squad for last week's matchup. They worked out Matt Barkley and Ian Book yesterday. So it's it's just a pretty awful buffet of quarterbacks over there. Jones says his neck feels a lot better. He says he's working to be ready for week 7, but we know that we've done this before. We did this in 2021. He's not going to be medically cleared, is my guess. So he can say all he wants, but when it's your neck, it's hard to get the medical clearance. He couldn't get it for 2020 in 2021. That's why he sat out for the last 6 or whatever games of the year. Tyrod Taylor was 24-36 for 200 yards. He ran 5 times for 24 yards. Saquon looked pretty good, ran 24 times for 93 yards. Darius Slayton caught 4 for 69. Wandale caught 8 for 62. The Giants were 10 of 19 on third down, but again, they were 0-5 in the red zone, and they're so bad down there. Now, that will change with Saquon back, but they're 30th in the league, converting 31.25% of their red zone opportunities. For Daboll to call a run on the goal line at the end of the first half was astonishing. For such a smart offensive mind to not understand that he can give himself a couple opportunities if he'd like, it was just astonishing. I can't.
It's like he didn't want to win.
It was just like he's such a smart guy who I respect, and to see him make that decision. I mean, we all know that 2 opportunities is better than 1. I don't know why you would put yourself in that corner. New York has failed to score an offensive touchdown in the first half all year. 5 offensive touchdowns all year. The offensive line's an absolute mess. They began without Andrew Thomas and their center, John Michael Schmitz. Then Joshua Azudu, he's starting in place of Thomas. He left the game. He's got a toe injury. That brought Justin Pugh in. So he had been signed to New York's practice squad. He was playing his first game since tearing a knee ligament with Arizona last year. The defense was getting pressure on Josh Allen, or they weren't. It's hard to say. I mean, if you look at the stats, 0 sacks and 1 quarterback hit, but they held Allen to 169 yards. They made Allen uncomfortable. Right. Micah McFadden had an interception. Statistically, you'd say, well, they didn't get any pressure, but we saw it differently if you were watching the game. Take it away for us here, Mikey. Commanders, Giants at MetLife.
What a barn burner. As I dug into some of these stats, though, what had surprised me the most is Sam Howell's effectiveness in offense, his production in offense. He's got more passing yards than the top 3 quarterbacks out there. He's got more first down completions than top 3 quarterbacks out there. And he's got more touchdowns than top 3 quarterbacks out there. So If the rest of the team can kind of follow suit and bring this guy a little help, they might be a heck of a team to contend with. In that, that NFC East right now, we saw Dallas step up last night and get the job done against the Chargers. Eagles kind of dealing with some of their woes and their issues that they had this past week. The Commanders probably feel like they're in a spot to do something here at 3-3. Now the Giants are 1-5. They're 0-2 at home. What we've seen by Tyrod Taylor coming in is that Saquon Barkley is healthy. He's ready to roll, and they are not afraid to put him into the fire. He had a pretty solid game last game there against the Bills. He had a number of touches. He was able to get production out of there. On the flip side of things, though, that Howell game, when you've got a quarterback that can produce offense against a Tyrod Taylor team that's going to have to run it, and we saw what they didn't do this past week, kind of eye-opening to me. It certainly makes me want to lean to this Commander side of the field here. Ron Rivera in a dog, or I'm sorry, after a dog win, Ron Rivera's 11-1 to the under. The New York Giants, after they score in a game that's gone less than 13 points, they're 0-7 against the spread in those spots. Now, Washington this season is 0-2 against the spread as a favorite, but a couple of those numbers kind of jumped out to me and thought, well, what does it say when you've got the under and the favorite? Those two, they correlate to me. You don't see the dog being able to generate that offense. We saw there was no offense out there. From a Commander side of the ball, I like Howell. I like the offensive threat that he produces and faces. That defense that they were talking about there from being rewarded last game. Absolutely. Is it a get right spot for Dable? I just don't think he's got the tools out there right now. They've got some issues on their offensive line. They've got some issues with the quarterback. Their bigger lingering issue with the quarterback and Danny Dimes there is it muscle strain or is it pinched nerve? And, one's going to be potentially threatening the rest of his season. The other might be something they can kind of work through if they give him a little bit more rest. So I expect Tyrod Taylor to get back in there, as you mentioned. And I just think it's going to come down to Howell or Taylor. I think Howell's got more upside for us. Home dogs, when they're coming off a line that's less than 4 and a total that's under 45, they're not generating offense. They're scoring less than 15 points a game. So I got to go to the Commanders here. I got to lean on this Washington side of the ball. I feel like they're going to find that offense. Will they do it early? I hope so. It's a divisional game, so I think it's going to be low scoring. But again, a low total or a low number for me on a low total. The Commanders team totals at 20.5. The Giants at 19.5. I don't want to overreact to what I saw last week, but I see a -1.5 out there right now for the Commanders. -1.5 is -110 at PointsBet. Let me see what the money line is before I just make that decision. But you know what? I'm going to go with the money line on the Commanders at -125. I'm going to take the road favorite in a divisional game. Is probably not a spot that you're going to make a ton of money on this season, but I just think with this offense that we've seen from the Giants and what the Commanders are capable of, that's going to be the way I lean.
When this line came out, I immediately went to the idea that if the books are now actively trying to beat us and they don't care about 50-50 money, they're actively trying to beat us, then they just put out a line so that 90% of people will want the Commanders. That was just how could this be under a field goal? So that's what scares me. I don't want the Giants at home, but it feels like, you're looking around the cave and you want to put your sleeping bag down and there's a bear quietly sitting there in the corner. Like, it just feels like that. Because why would they place this under a field goal? So it's just who in the world would want the Giants? Like, the line was just shocking to me. So shocking that I can't.
Look at the Giants' point production, though, right? They scored 9 points last week. They scored 16 points the week before. They scored 3 points the week before that. They scored 12 points the week before that. We need 2 touchdowns out of the Commanders to be able to beat this team, and I think they're capable of that with Sam Howell at offense. Now, can they even turn it over and maybe contribute something on the defensive side of the ball? Why not? And then vice versa. You look at the Commanders: 24 points, 20 points, 31 points. Yeah, they had that 3 against Buffalo. That was kind of the isolated spot there, but Buffalo showed that they could shut down the Giants too in that kind of overlay or correlated opponent type of spot. So, and then they put up 35 against Denver. So their offense is capable of firing. The question is going to be, to me, does the Giants offense fire? You're going to feed Barkley the ball. Then what happens when it comes to third downs? Well, the Giants don't do squat when it comes to third downs in these games. Their overall effectiveness in third down is certainly ranking lower in the league. They're not able to generate those opportunities. They go out 3 and out on their drives more than most teams in the NFL. They're currently 8th in the NFL when it comes to 3 and outs in the second half of the game as well. We'll see. We'll see what happens in this spot. I just felt like it's a low number for me to take what I think is clearly the better team.
They are clearly the better team. If they are clearly the better team, the number just makes
the
no
number
sense.
is scary. I get it. That's how I felt last week too with a couple spots. So
I will. While the books are actively trying to beat us, I will actively cheer you on. I'm not going to be moving on this one. Let's move on